Level 2 has begun. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The Masters has begun as well. And we've talked in the past. I brought it up. I caught on to it last year because this live stuff is new with them playing in the majors and stuff. But it seems to me that some of these live guys, you sort of have an advantage. It's a grind being on the PGA Tour, playing every week, and you can't just blow it off all the time. You know what I mean? And you're traveling on your own. You know, you're not living the same lifestyle as somebody on the live tour is living. The live tour is like basically stress-free, right? You can come in last place in the live tour. It doesn't matter. They have already paid me, right? It's not a performance-driven league, right? I guess you get bonuses and stuff, but whatever. Like that's the whole problem with that, right? Like that's, it's not a real competition. It's an exhibition. Everybody's been paid already. Jon Rahm's been paid $400 million. So Jon Rahm came in like 28th or something last week on the live tour. What does it matter? You come on 28th on a PGA tour, you're like, damn, man, I didn't get that much money. And I had to pay for my flight to get here, right? Right? I had to pay for my hotel. Like, you got to cover your own stuff in golf, right? It's not like you're not a team, you're on your own. So, like, the PGA is a stressful environment. I get it. The top tier guys are living great lives, but it's a stressful environment for a lot of people on the tour, even the good players to stay on top. The live tour, you can just sort of kick back and sort of just gear up for these major events. On the downside is you're not playing in the same competition type thing. So there's two sides to it, but last time it was Brooks Koepka. We went on that tear. Now it's Bryson. So Bryson DeChambeau, who historically hasn't played well here. And even though he's from here, he hasn't played well here, but he lit it up today. He was 7 under, but it seems like this tournament's a wrap, actually. And it's pretty crazy as well. Shout out to everyone joining us on SiriusXM, channel 159. This is Sports Rage. So Scotty Scheffler was like a, plus 450 favorite, plus 400, depending on the book, depending on the time when you bet it throughout the week. And a lot of people just sort of dismissed it as like, wow, you can't bet on that. It's just too low, right? You're not getting any value, and some people are just diametrically opposed to betting that number on a golfer. He's plus 160 right now. All right, he's not even in first place. He's plus 160, and there's still 3 rounds to go. We should note there was some pretty crazy weather there today, in which, it was weird. It looked nice on TV. It was all sunny, and you're like, man, it looks beautiful there. And it's all pristine, and it's all perfect and stuff. But then, some of the golfers at times, these winds would come in, man. And it was serious winds. Like, you could hear it. It was picked up, like the microphone, like shuffling, like they showed the flags. And the trees are, like, blowing all over the place. And you can't take a timeout. Right? You're not playing with your boys. Like, you can't just say, oh, you know what? Hey, listen, can I wait 5 minutes for this wind to die down? It's like, no, you can't. Right? You're playing now. It is what it is. And we talked about it last night with Brady Cannon. That's the one thing that's, it's, no one has an advantage. It's random. But it is frustrating to a bettor if you bet on a golfer and he's out there in 40, and what did they say? It was like 60-mile-an-hour winds or something. Like, they were really going today for a while. Like Jason Day, like you saw Jason Day's baggy pants. Well, Vanilla Ice day today. But it was really windy for some of the players, and it was harder for them, right? And some other guys get the perfect conditions. It's going to be a little easier. So you hope after, through 4 days it evens out. But Scheffler had to deal with some of the wind, and it still didn't faze him. So Scotty Scheffler's plus 160 right now. And he had a bogey-free round today. And he's a killer as the tournament goes on. So looking here right now, I think Scheffler's going to win. It's a real hot take, but I think Scheffler's going to win this tournament. Bryson is going to fade. Bryson's not going to continue with this pace that he's playing at. Good for him. He's the first-round leader. No one goes wire to wire. And that's the other thing, too. If you're Scheffler, you're almost too high right now. You're almost like Scheffler's dangerous when he's like 6th or 8th or something like that after a round. But I think it's going to be a case where Scheffler just kills it tomorrow, and then he just pulls away over the weekend. Because if you look at the board here, Bryson's going to fade. You got you got Højgaard. Is he really going to hang for 4 days? Danny Willett, Cam Davis, Ryan Fox, Ty Hatton. No one talked about Ty Hatton coming into this. You know who I didn't take? And I got caught up myself, actually. I was watching a stupid AFL game last night. I'm going to blame Mick for this. We lost last night. And I probably wouldn't have bet the game because I wasn't thinking about it, but I saw Mick Ossie on Twitter tweeting me about a game, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get in on this game. And then I lost the game. I hit the total, though, out of frustration. I was like, I can't lose money on this game. I got to figure a way out of this. But I lost, and I'm on the West Coast, so I was up late. Next thing I knew, I was like, man, the Masters are starting soon. And I started firing off sort of like first-round leaders and the prop bets I wanted to get in. And I was like, well, I'll just wait to get in on the in-game and see how it plays out. But how it's playing out, I don't see anyone beating Scheffler right now. Like, if you look, like, who's going to go on that tear? He's 6 under right now. I don't think Højgaard's going to hang for the week. I don't think Danny Willett's going to hang. So, like, who's going to come up that's, like, lurking behind them? Max Homa. Max Homa's been good to me, actually. Max Homa, he's T5 right now. He's 3 under. The Canadian Corey Connors, I could see Connors finishing like top 20 when it's all said and done, but I don't think he's going to win. Zalatoris is sort of lurking right now. Aberg, the guy that I liked, Aberg, but the thing I didn't like about Aberg is it's his first time here, and first-time guys never win here. So I scratch him. I have him for top 20. But I'm just sort of looking at the field here, and I just don't see anybody that Scheffler is losing sleep over. And I know it's super early. There's a lot of golf left, but is there? You know what I mean? Sort of like a football game. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of football left, but we're a quarter and a half through, and he's the best player, and he's starting to heat up. So, like, how good in shape are we right now? Like, Scheffler was dialed up, man. He would have been he would have been tied for the first round leader today. And I had him too. Not a massive play. I know people always call it pizza money. It wasn't pizza money. It was more than pizza money. Right? It was dinner and a nice restaurant money. But it was a couple of $100. And if Scheffler would have been the first round leader, and anyone that was watching it on his final shot there, you saw his putt was so close to going in, but it didn't. Everybody loves Xander. I had a hard time buying in that Xander was going to do it. So to me, I don't know. I'm just looking at the field here, and Scheffler's just so much better than everybody else is right now. He's like UConn. You really want to get in front of him? Maybe plus 160 doesn't suck.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Jrue Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford father time to catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis owns it. They beat them 5 straight times, and Memphis is awful. So what does that say about the Bucks? They are the most overrated team in the NBA, hands down.
Michigan and Boston College, there's going to be goals scored in this game. But with that being stated, the total's up to 7.5 right now. I got to go under 7.5 here, Scott.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage, Sirius XM, Channel 159, SportsGrid Radio and Television Networks. Let's send it to the Lone Star State. Our man, Dave Delano, steps up, and then a lot of stuff to get to. We'll talk some NBA, some Major League Baseball, but I didn't get to this story yet. I was talking about the Ohtani stuff and the documents, talked about O.J. Simpson a bit earlier, but I did not get to this story yet, David. I don't know if you saw it, but Tom Brady was on a podcast. And he basically said he wants to play still, like point blank. Like, and it's funny because you remember he was supposed to be on TV, right? And he's not doing that, right? Well, I'm going to do it. I need time. I need this. And now he point blank said, "Oh, you're really done." I don't know the guy's name that he was on with. I'll get it was one of those barbershop show. I'll get the guy's name, give him credit for it. But basically, Brady said, "Yeah, if the right team called me, I'm not." And he goes, "Yeah." And he even talked about like Jordan came back. Why couldn't he? Listen, nobody's gotten rich over the last 20 years, bro, betting against Tom Brady. I'll bet against Tom Brady. He's 47, David. He's done, bro. Like even me, I look at it, I'm like, dude, you got to let it go. Your ego, well, you can't handle it. Giselle left you. You're not in the NFL anymore, and you're having a hard time, bro. That's what I took away from it. Buy or sell that Tom Brady would be good in the NFL still.
I think that Tom Brady in the right situation, I don't see it happening for an entire season, but we'll see how much he really wants to play because I think someone's going to make the call. Probably a lot of teams are going to make the call at some point. I think
now that he said it, you're right.
I think if he gets to a situation maybe where there's 2-3 games left in the season, I think that, some of the guys that we've seen get ran out there in the NFL at the end of these seasons, I think that he can.
I can't argue with that. I'm not saying when I said he can't get it done. Because at the same time, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, well, dude, he's still better than like 15 guys in the league probably, right? Like that are starting, right? Like, so I get that. But, dude, he also slowed down with Tampa. I know he won the Super Bowl. That was a little while ago. He was slowing down. I get it around the right weapons, but at 47, man, going on 48, I don't buy into it. But like you said, like teams would call him, and I think he would do it because he thinks he's Superman, right? I think he wants to like really prove a point here about his greatness, come back and drop the mic somehow. But I'm just not buying it. I think he's too old now. That's just my take.
One thing I'm going to have to check, I didn't look at yet, is what are the prop bets for Tom Brady for him playing next year? And what are they? Do they have any odds up yet for what team he may play?
You're good. Good call. They don't take long with this stuff. I'm going to punch it in right now. You're right. Oh, it's Tom Brady. Well, for the record, the 3 teams, he even mentioned the teams. Like, it wasn't, that's why I was so like, whoa. Wasn't like, beat around the bush. He goes, no, the right call came. And he goes, he said, I thought about coming back. And he said, just like Michael Jordan did. And then he dropped the 3 teams, the 49ers, the Raiders, and the Patriots of all teams.
Yeah, he's definitely thought this through. And he's letting them know, if you're one of those teams, call me.
Well, and he also brought up that he's got the ownership stuff with the Raiders. He goes, I can't play and be an owner. So I don't know if he's throwing that out there now to sort of say, hey, it's your last chance. Man, he ain't going to be on the Niners, all right? They're not throwing Brock Purdy under the bus, all right? They just went to the Super Bowl. The Patriots need to move on. Like, what good is bringing Tom Brady back, like, right now? It's like remarrying your ex-wife or something. It's like, nah, it's over, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's done. The Raiders, though, kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like, Aiden O'Connell's okay. He's okay, but the Raiders and Tom Brady, and it seems like that would be the fit to me.
And it's Vegas. I mean, you're going to sell a lot of tickets. You're going to put on a show. Raiders haven't done anything in so long. It's almost, what do they have to lose? I mean, no one's going to – even if he comes in and he's not successful, no one is going to knock you, even with a new coaching regime, for bringing in Tom Brady, even if it doesn't work. No one's going to knock that versus what they have now. So it's probably worth a shot.
We're doing what he wants too, but he is the great Tom Brady. So we got to talk about him. But it's amazing. I can't believe here we are in 2024 talking about Tom Brady and where he'll play. I'm like, no, we're not doing this again, are we? But I actually like this is all new, and with the Ohtani stuff and OJ dying, I saw the Brady stuff. I was like, yeah. But the more I talk out loud, the first time I talk about this out loud and stuff, I start to think, you know what? This son of a bitch is probably going to come back. Like, he probably is. Like, and he even said, we'll get his exact quotes. Like, he talked about, he said, I'm in great shape. I can still throw the ball. Like I said, guys, it sounded like he was basically telling teams in the NFL, I can play, point blank. I'm Tom Brady, and I can play still.
Now, before the season started, though, would you have thought that Joe Flacco had a chance to do what he did this season?
That's a great point. If Joe Flacco can do it, then Joe Flacco also threw 4 interceptions in that game, in the last game. But I well played, Dave. That's a good point. All right, so here's the exact words. After already coming out of retirement, once Tom Brady announced last year he was done playing football for good. Now at age 46, he's reconsidering that statement. So he was on a show called Deep Cuts with Vic Blends. While doing so, the legendary Patriots quarterback even mentioned New England as a possible landing spot. Vic Blends, let's say one day there's a situation, maybe San Francisco. They're going to the playoffs. Their offense is great. Brady jumped in. Didn't even let him finish. Brady jumped in. Patriots, could be the Raiders. Could be. You never know. Vic Blends, God forbid somebody goes down. Would you pick up that phone? Brady, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know if they're going to let me become an owner of an NFL team. I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape, and I'm always able to throw the ball. To come in for a little bit like Michael Jordan coming back, I don't know if they'd let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah,
sounds like he's coming back.
If he said that, I think he's really wants to somewhere in his heart. He's putting it out there, and he's going to see if somebody's going to take the bait. And, at some point, I think late in the season, somebody probably will give him a call, and then he'll be able to look at the situation if he wants to.
I'm calling it right now, David, as a Bills fan. And Tom Brady was like 35-2 or something against the Bills, and it was 33-3, whatever the hell it was bad. He owned them. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt with the Jets again. Tom Brady comes back, plays with the New York Jets. That's my prediction.
How would you feel if, the Bills are positioned, Josh Allen goes down, maybe a couple games left? Was it worth giving Brady a call? Would you be open for that?
Yeah. Considering we've never won, like anything, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what? I'm a Raptor fan, bro, and LeBron James is like just owned the Raptors. I used to think the same thing. I'm like, man, much as I dislike this guy, man, if we could just get him on our team, he'd stop beating us at least, right?
Right.
So listen, you're a Browns fan, but you're in H-Town. what's the excitement level around the Texans? Because they got a great fan base. I remember I was there when they started, when they just came back and left. They lost the Oilers, but the Texan fans were all really passionate early in the Carr days and stuff. But the franchise just sucked for so long. The owners sucked for so long. I know there was a lot of apathy, but there's got to be a lot of excitement and buzz about this team now.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of excitement with what D'Amico Ryan's doing, with C.J. Stroud, even getting Diggs now. There's a lot of excitement around this team. And speaking of podcasts, I'm not sure how long ago it was. I saw Saquon Barkley actually on a podcast on a clip today where they were asking him who was the hardest hitting team that you went against. And he said, well, last year, he said, even though I had a good game, he said, surprisingly, the Houston Texans were really coming out hitting harder than anybody. So there's
a bunch of young, nasty dudes on that D.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've drafted really well over the years, and it wasn't just last year. They've stockpiled talent, and now they're flying around. You add Diggs in here, and Diggs won't be their number one there. I'm buying in to Houston, but I'll tell you what, we get this on the other side. We'll talk baseball, but I think the Tennessee Titans have had a much better offseason than people have realized.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Drew Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford father time to catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis owns it. They beat them 5 straight times. And Memphis is awful. So what does that say about the Bucks? They are the most overrated team in the NBA, hands down.
Michigan and Boston College, there's going to be goals scored in this game. But, with that being stated, the total's up to 7.5 right now. I got to go under 7.5 here, Scott.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Dave Delano kicking it with us. I am Gabriel Morency. 57-56 Warriors and Blazers right now. Midway through the third. Warriors are laying 8.5. Pelicans are up on the Kings, 69-62. And Utah's up on Houston, 124-121 right now. I'm at the point when it comes to betting on the NBA. I just want the playoffs to be here, David. I'm glad that the play-in stuff starts next week because the last week of the NBA is always frustrating.
It's definitely frustrating. I think the thing also is if you see a play that you actually like, you really have to jump on it right away because nobody hardly knows what's going on. I mean, I've seen some of these games, the lines will be, you'll see a team minus 1.5. And when the line comes out, and then by tip-off, it's like minus 10.5. It's a good chance you could, go the other way on some games, but so many teams sitting people, the motivation factors are changing every other day. Yeah, it's pretty wild right now. I've been treading very lightly in the NBA.
Yeah, we had the college. You're right about that. I call it speculative betting, right? And if you're really dialed in with this stuff and you really know the teams well, right? And everyone thinks they know teams well, but I'm talking about you follow a team inside out, and you know what time they're playing left, and you know what time they arrived, and you know what I mean? You're right. You see these overnight lines, and you're like, dude, he's not going to play tomorrow. You just sort of know. You're like, they're not going to play these guys. And or if you pay attention to beat writers, practices, etc., you can sort of figure that out. The Raptors are an interesting team right now because they're trying to lose games. Right, because their pick is top 6 protected. So you'll notice the Raptors are in games now, and at the end, they suddenly always lose. But what do you think of are you buying into the Dallas Mavericks run right now? Because technically they're the hottest team in the NBA right now going into the playoffs.
I am buying into what I'm seeing from Dallas, but it's tough when you look at the Western Conference, and it's changing so often. Like right now they're playing, if the season ended today, they play the Clippers. I do like the Dallas in that situation against the Clippers, but they played the Denver Nuggets in the second round. I don't see them getting past that hump. They're a fun team to see. I like how they're playing, but I think probably second round is where they're going to end up getting knocked out. If they get a matchup against Minnesota, which looks unlikely, they could go further. So it's a fun story, but I don't think that they have enough to beat Denver, but I do think that they could beat the Clippers.
I don't like being cliche and just picking the team that won all the time the year before, but for the record, and people that tuned in last year, we have longtime listeners. You guys remember I was on the Denver bandwagon last year, and we see these things come in twos, man, right? The Kansas City Chiefs have won the last 2 Super Bowls in a row. UConn have just won 2 championships in a row. And if Jokic wasn't European, let's just call it up, the American media is not a big fan of his, right? They got mad, right? When you're going to be MVP, and they're not a flashy team, right? Jamal Murray's not a flashy dude. Jokic isn't like part of the NBA clique type stuff and the media and all that. Yet they're damn good, and they're sort of like UConn in a way that they're just fundamentally sound. They don't make a ton of mistakes. So it's like, yeah, you might not think we're great, but try to beat us. That's the way I look at Denver. Because I think a lot of teams, and I think a lot of people in the NBA look at them. Dude, I was watching like Gilbert Arenas, or it was Jeff Teague. And I respect Jeff Teague. But Jeff Teague's got a podcast, and they did a thing, rank the top 5 combos, like top 2 players together on teams in the NBA. And none of them had Jokic and Jamal Murray. And I'm thinking, all right, well, I'll take these 2 because these 2 beat you. They basically play 2-man ball and they beat you. So I don't see anyone in the West being able to beat Denver. And in fact, I think Denver is going to beat Boston in the finals.
Yeah, it's really hard to see somebody beating Denver in the West because if you look at the next, 2 teams behind them, you got Minnesota and Oklahoma City who are playing great. But when you look at how young they are and the experience, would you really bet on those teams against Denver? And then we got the Clippers. And I'm sorry, just certain things, we talk about like Browns fans, Bills fans, they're the Clippers. They're going to have to do it before I believe it. I'm not betting on the Clippers. And it's like, do you trust the Mavericks? And then at the bottom, it's a mess. I mean, even though you got, the Warriors, Lakers, all those teams, you don't know if they're even going to get out of the play-in, and they're going to have to do so much by the time they get there. I would not go against Denver. And I know you mentioned Gilbert Arenas too, and I had heard something on his podcast about saying that Jokic was the worst MVP in the last 40 years. And obviously all the MVPs are great, but just to say something like that, they really are taking shots at the guy, like to make a statement at that.
Is it because he's white? I mean,
it could have something. That could have something.
I'm just going to cut to the chase here, but it was the same thing with like Steve Nash, the anger, right? Well, when Steve Nash was coach of the Nets, he had a party at his house. Steve Nash is a super cool dude too. You know, has a couple of drinks and he had a party at his house for the team. Kyrie Irving looks at his MVPs and goes, "You didn't deserve that. Kobe should have won." Says that to, you know what I mean? There's a resentment. I saw like tonight, and it's just, you know, I call it like it is. Draymond Green, I saw his quote today. We didn't get to this on the show today. Draymond Green said that Zach Edey quit against UConn.
No.
Guy was scoring until the final minutes of the game, bro. He had 37 points. Like, quit. He was a one-man team. What the F did you want him to do, Draymond? like I don't like it's just stupid, bro. But why him? Like, why are you picking on Zach Edey of all people, Draymond? Right? I mean, I'm just calling out for what it is. It bothers a lot of these dudes in the NBA that white guys get attention or are good at basketball. It's pissing them off. It does. Luka goes through the same crap. Look at the stuff with Luka. Oh, he doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Yet Anthony Edwards is the face. He's the new Jordan. Anthony Edwards, listen to the media. Oh, Anthony Edwards, he's the greatest thing since Michael Jordan, face of the league. No, Wembanyama is the greatest thing. Wembanyama is the face of the league. But you don't want to say that because he's from France. Right? I'm just calling it like it is.
Yeah, that guy is, I mean, I know it's been said before, but that guy's the person that we used to create on the video games growing up. And it's like, it would be just unreal if somebody could be 7'4", 7'5", and shoot threes and do all this stuff. But I think also people get caught up in the wrong things. Like they talk about what a guy's body looks like. Some people are like, well, look at how Patrick Ewing was built or David Robinson were built, and they feel like guys should just be these physical specimens that they should look like. But Joker's obviously in shape the way the guys play. He doesn't miss games like a lot of these other guys who may look like they have a better build in them. And a lot another thing people get caught up on a lot is like who would win one-on-one. All that's meaningless. It's a team game. So yeah, people are taking digs for different reasons. They want the face of the league to. I think we really want it to be an American player, and in America, mostly all the best NBA players are black. I mean, you can't really, and I think that's.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's also an American thing as well, not just a racial thing. But I think there is an element to it. You're right about the Clippers, though. Like look at the Phoenix Suns. It doesn't work, bro. Like, you get all these scores and stuff, and the media falls for, oh, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be this. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be dangerous. They're going to be this. No, they won't be. They won't. Like, they'll implode. You see time and time again. The Clippers are a little bit different because fundamentally you figure the Clippers would be awesome, right? It's like, yeah, you guys really do have it all. But like you said, it's never come together for them before. And there's like an assumption like people have for them that they're just going to flick the switch. Oh, these regular season games don't matter. And it's like, well, what, you think they're going to flick the switch and they're not going to have bad habits and everything? Like, you need to be, like, winning. You need to have a winning culture the whole time. Like, they're not as good as they think they are, that they can just show up and flip. They say this every year about the Clippers. And I'm not buying in. I've bought in the past. I'm not buying in. They're going to find a way to lose along the way, the Clippers.
Yeah, the Clippers, the Suns, I don't believe in with chemistry. I don't want to switch over to the East, but Cleveland is also a team right now that just the way that they're trending, three teams that really jump out at me that I don't have a lot of faith in. But they take too much of, sometimes looking at that individual talent, underestimating chemistry and playing meaningful games together. And they just seem to be cursed. They seem to have everything championship coach, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't come together for the Clippers. And they said, have to prove me wrong, but I would not bet on them, and I don't think that they're going past I think they're probably not going past the first round, but I definitely can't see them going past the second round. I think that's the best case scenario for the Clippers.
And look in the East you just talked about. So Cleveland, you're right. Cleveland's got chemistry problems right now. The coach is on the hot seat. They're going in the wrong direction with the playoffs coming up here. And plus, they're not a playoff type team. We've seen in the past they've had real problems in the postseason. So I agree with you as far as they're concerned. But look at the Bucks. The Bucks were fundamentally sound. Like, the Bucks would be better off still having Drew Holiday instead of Dame Lillard, right? But the media loves that. Oh, they got Dame Lillard and Giannis are going to be together and stuff. And you see, it's worked in moments. It does, it doesn't. And they're another team. So you look at Boston. Even though Boston have had a flaky couple of weeks here and they have weird things happen to them, they're still damn good. But that one team that you were just sort of talking about, you didn't bring up, but a team that sort of plays like a team that I think that could give people a problem, the New York Knicks. The Knicks are playing good ball right now, bro, and they're built for the playoffs. They play. Jalen Brunson can hang with anybody. You know he's going to score. OG Anunoby is a great defensive player, bro. Like, they can ball. Like, the Knicks can give anybody a problem in a playoff series.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are the biggest threat to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks, people overlook it a little bit. They have a chance to play, the 76ers or the Heat in the first round. Doc Rivers, that could be dangerous, but I agree with you on the Knicks.
Baseball picks on the other side, I promise, with Dave Delano. I am Morency. Bring it.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Drew Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford father time to catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis owns it. They beat them 5 straight times. And Memphis is awful. So what does that say about the Bucks? They are the most overrated team in the NBA, hands down.
Michigan and Boston College, there's going to be goals scored in this game. But, with that being stated, the total's up to 7.5 right now. I got to go under 7.5 here, Scott.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Well, the dream is dead. And our run, we got punched in the mouth. We had the Michigan Wolverines tonight. Our Michigan Wolverines lose 4-0 to Boston College. I hate to admit it, but we talked about it. We knew with both Boston teams. Boston University was on one side, Boston College on the other side. They never play each other in the final. So we knew that one of them was going to lose. And the fact that Boston U lost earlier and Boston College are just loaded. And they showed that tonight. Michigan are good, and they steamrolled Michigan 4-0 tonight. So we've got Boston College versus the Denver Pioneers in the NCAA Hockey Frozen Four Championships this weekend. Big card, Julio Rosario will join us later. We'll get you the odds. We'll get into the hockey. George Kurtz is going to step up in a couple of minutes. He was at the New York Islander Montreal Canadian game tonight on the island. We'll get his report. He was there with our boy, the Rage Redhead Cam Stewart, who looked to be pretty lit up, actually. See if I can get that picture up. And if you can, George, can you, we have it. All right, good stuff. So save it. We'll bring it up in a couple of minutes here. We got Dave Delano right now in the house with us. So, Dave, what do you think about Friday's baseball card? Anything catch your eye right now?
Yeah, so one thing I actually heard you guys mention earlier that I definitely agree with, you definitely want to watch out for some of these huge favorites, especially when they're at home. That's one of the reasons they may get it done tomorrow, but that's one of the reasons that I'm staying away from the Toronto Blue Jays. One thing that I'll point out, again, that's probably overlooked when you look at the line that a lot of people may not want to bet on, looking at the Oakland Athletics, because, they've been terrible as a favorite. Looks like they're about minus 132 right now. A lot of people may not want to bet that game, but I actually like the Oakland Athletics in the spot. They've got a Paul Blackburn going. They've won both of the starts that he's pitched this season. He's yet to give up a run, and they're also going up against a team, the Washington Nationals, that have been every bit as bad as the A's over the year. But strong pitching advantage for Oakland. Had a nice win against. They had a nice win last night against Texas, and I like the Oakland A's for one pick for going here on Friday night. Another one that I'm looking at too in baseball is the Kansas City Royals right now. Plus 102 with a Michael Wacha going on the mound. Right now, this team is hot. They took care of business against the Houston Astros, and we're still seeing them as an underdog here. They're playing the Mets. I have not been impressed really with the Mets at all. I know that they blew out Atlanta on Thursday, but you can't just overreact day to day. I think at a little bit of plus money here, I like the Kansas City Royals. One thing about baseball, people, and you know this, of course, people get so caught up in winning percentages, but you want to find places where, if you start betting on these large favorites, you could take a loss and a half or two losses in one pick. So anytime you can get a play where, you can be less than 50% in profit, that's a good spot. So I do like the Kansas City Royals as well.
No, I really like where you're going with that. You're betting on teams that people just automatically think suck and don't want to touch. The Kansas City Royals had a great offseason. We talked about it. They brought in some veteran arms that can eat up some innings. Big message when they pay Bobby Witt Jr. That sends the message to everybody else that we're in business. We're bringing in free agents. We're signing our young stars. And the thing I like about the Royals, David, is we've seen them do it before, right? Like we've seen, some teams are in a perennial rebuild. I'm a Bills fan, you're a Browns fan, so we know the pain, right? We'll get them next year, right? What I mean? But the Kansas City Royals, we've seen them suck and build a World Series champion with not a ton of money even, right? And build it, tear it apart. And I remember they said, the GM was like, trust me on this. We're going to rebuild this. We're not we have a plan. We're rebuilding this. And here we are right now. You're sort of seeing it. Now, I don't think they're going to make noise in the playoffs or anything, but I talked about liking their season win totals and the over coming into the year. I thought they were a play-on team. I like where you're going with that. And I brought it up earlier, too. The Oakland Athletics, because of the perception and the negativity around them, they're going to be massive underdogs all the time. They're going to win enough that you could actually end up making money on them, I think, in the end. And like you said about them being favorites, sometimes you got to read between the lines, right? And why are the odds makers making this team that's supposedly so terrible a 132 favorite? They know Oakland's the play. So good call by you, I think.
Yeah, they make it a little bit tough sometimes with some of these big mismatches. The juice is so high at times, especially at teams at home. Another one, I haven't pulled the trigger on it quite yet. I'm looking at the Yankees and the Guardians. Carlos Carrasco, I'm not really so sure about him yet, and I'm not sure about the Guardians either. I know, you mentioned they always find a way to get it done, but they've had a really soft schedule so far to start the season. I do like what I see with the Yankees. That may be one that I go with. You have any thoughts on that one? Either way, between the Guardians and the Yankees.
Yeah, I'm with you. Although I've lost a lot of money over on the Guardians, it just bothers me because like 2 years ago, I'm like, there's no way they go over their win total. They do all the time. I'm like, I'm done betting against this team, right? But I agree with you. Their schedule has been tough. Now they lost Bieber as well. It's going to catch up to them. And we got a Yankee guy coming up here, and off the top of my head, don't the Yankees like always beat Cleveland in Cleveland too? George Kurtz will be able to confirm this. Yeah, like they own the Twins and the Guardians. They own this division. But I'm with you here. You got Schmidt on the hill here, laying the 140 with the Yankees, and Yankees in a real deal. I'll give them credit so far this year. We talked about it earlier. Drew Martin brought it up. They're taking pitches. They're actually better in the box. They're a little bit better defensively. And one thing is interesting too is remember last year the Yankee totals went under all the time, Dave, because they couldn't hit. They can't hit. They hit home runs. They don't really hit. Now they're a little different now, but they're like 8-3-1 to the under on the season. Like the Yankees are an underplay. They have been for a couple of years right now. Like if you bet every under on the Yankees this year, you're making money.
And I think a lot of times their totals are maybe just slightly higher than they should be, just based off of the perception. Speaking of totals.
Oh, Aaron Judge and home run hitters and Stanton, exactly.
But even if he hit 60 home runs like last year, it was a situation a lot of times if Aaron Judge didn't hit a home run, they just didn't do too much offensively, even though they are improved this year. Speaking of totals, too, another one to kind of look at, even though it's a high total, the Texas Rangers and Houston Astros, I know total's 9.5, but I think something like 13 out of the last 17 have gone over. Those always seem to go over, and Dane Dunning has had some struggles against the Astros in his career. JP France, hard to trust. Astros coming off of that tough series against the Royals. That could possibly be an overplay. And it's hard to see Houston continuing losing, but Houston minus 138, Texas Rangers plus 118. I find it hard to see how you could take Houston as a favorite in this spot. What do you think about that?
I agree with you there. I agree with you there as well, just out of the nature of it. Baseball's such a streaky sport. I think the Rangers are underpriced all the time pretty much too. Coming into the year, I don't know, I think people think they were a fluke last year or something. They're not, but they do have a little bit of a World Series hangover. Dave, where can people find you online? We got your info up on the screen, but for people tuning in on the radio right now, where can people find you?
Yes, they can find me on X at Get Sports Strong, and if you want to find out my picks for each day, my top stuff, go ahead and check out picksandparlays.net along with winnersandwhiners.com. Humble brag right now for the season overall. I'm leading all the handicappers over there, and the great thing about it is you can look at every play that I've ever made. So when I'm running hot, when I'm running cold, but I put the plays out before, and you can look at the past record. I stand by it. No, 40 straight winner BS or any of that stuff. It's all transparent. So picksandparlays.net.
Hey, always good, Dave. Great stuff. Keep up the great work. We'll speak to you sooner rather than later. Thanks for the time, man.
Thanks so much. You have a great night.
There's Dave Delano lighting it up. Kicking it with his great stuff with Dave. The show's just flown by this evening. Quickest 180 minutes in sports talk and television. We've run the gauntlet. We've hit a lot of topics. I still got more to get to, including UFC 300. But we've got a review tonight. George Kurtz has returned back to the compound on Long Island. Cam Stewart is loose on the streets of New York City right now. Good to see you, George. How you doing?
Doing well. Right, got an Islanders overtime victory, Gabe. So the game you sent us to, the Islanders defeat your favorite team, Montreal, 3-2 in overtime. Interesting game, kind of, if you're looking for a high-scoring game, lots of action, it didn't have it. The Islanders did control the play and finally buried enough chances to put Montreal away.
That's the one thing that surprised me about this game. I thought that it'd be a little bit higher scoring than this. You figure the way they look at the Canadians. The Canadians aren't a great defensive team. The Canadians are a high-flying offensive team. But the Islanders are playing for a playoff spot, played their style of hockey, and escaped with the 3-2 win, and a big win for the Islanders tonight. So it must have been a cool atmosphere when they won.
It was, the atmosphere was great. The Islander fans, they are passionate. It was loud throughout the game there. It wasn't a sellout, which I was disappointed about. A lot of lower bowl seats were open. That's just disappointing for a game that, as you said, a must-win game to get to the playoffs here. Maybe they're all waiting for the Ranger game at the Garden on Saturday, which should be a small war between the Islanders and Rangers there. That's going to be I expect a lot of fisticuffs in that game, after what Laviolette said after the game on Tuesday.
All right, so the Rangers Cam Stewart, he didn't buy this Islander jersey, did he? He already had it, right? He's had an Islander jersey, unless he got a new one, another one. But he's always been a closet Islander fan, and here he is rocking the Islander. But I know he's been betting on the Canadians all the time. So did he bet on the Islanders or the Canadians?
We both took the under in the game. He bet on the Islanders. He actually, no joke, predicted the score. He said it would be 3-2. So he had the score, the correct. I don't think he got the correct score, mind you, but he had the correct score at 3-2 Islanders. So Cam had a great night. He also was on Pittsburgh. He was on the over in Toronto Devils, and he hit another game too. Cam had a really nice hockey night.
Good stuff. 3-2 New York Islanders victorious over the Montreal Canadiens this evening. So what's the let's get the updated standings right now in the National Hockey League. The Eastern Conference is a serious like going to come down to the final whistle, final game. And as it is right now for the wild card, the Tampa Bay Lightning are locked in. They're going to be one of the wild card teams. The Pittsburgh Penguins now have 86 points. The Washington Capitals have 85 points. The Red Wings have 85 points. And the Philadelphia Flyers have 85 points. It's pretty crazy. We've got 4 teams fighting for one spot, George, who are separated by 1 point.
Yeah, I guess a lot of those teams can't be happy that Pittsburgh and Detroit, they both got a point. Pittsburgh getting the extra point in overtime there. Last game of the season, Islanders Pittsburgh, and you wonder if that ends up being a winner get in game here. I said the Islanders play the Rangers on Saturday in the Garden, be a tough win there. And then the Islanders play the Devils on Monday. A Devils team the Islanders have not beaten yet. That being said, the Islanders haven't beaten the Canadians yet this season either until tonight here. So these teams are playing each other, which means some teams are going to get points here. It's going to be a wild finish to see who gets in the Eastern Conference. Should be a lot of fun.
The Western Conference is not nearly as dramatical. The St. Louis Blues are kind of lingering right now, but they're running on a racetrack. They're trailing by 3 points. They have 3 games left, but Vegas have a game in hand, and they're up by 3 points. So it's going to be Nashville and Vegas. And Nashville, Vegas, and the Kings are all in the same neighborhood, though. They're sort of playing musical chairs on a nightly basis.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Drew Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford, Father Time can catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis owns it. They beat them 5 straight times. And Memphis is awful. So what does that say about the Bucks? They're the most overrated team in the NBA, hands down.
Michigan and Boston College, there's going to be goals scored in this game. But, with that being stated, the total's up to 7.5 right now. I got to go under 7.5 here, Scott.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage late
This sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. The Vancouver Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers. We were just talking about the NHL standings right now. We're down to the final. We're into the final stretch, although sort of, whatever. It doesn't end till next Thursday night, but the games are really spread out. Like the Canucks only have 3 games left, but they wrap up their season 1 week from tonight. So the Canucks, obviously, they're only going to go as far as Thatcher Demko can help them go. Right? The Canucks are really good, but they're better with Thatcher Demko, and they haven't had Thatcher Demko for like the last month or so. He's been back practicing with the team. We talked about it a couple of nights ago in which he was on the ice and full throttle drills, scrimmages, and people said, oh, it looks like he could play, but they said no, or we're holding him out still. And like we thought, there's 3 games left. They play the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday. The Oilers are 4 points behind right now, but have 2 games in hand, Kurtz. It's getting real as far as our division bet is concerned. They it's getting serious.
Saturday, it's over.
Yes, even if they can get 1 point, it'll pretty much end it. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Get the game to overtime.
Have you looked at Edmonton's schedule? They're playing Arizona, then Vancouver, San Jose, Arizona again, and then Colorado last game of the season, which might not mean anything.
They could run the table. They just beat Vegas without Connor McDavid. They could run the table.
I mean, they control their own destiny, right? If they beat Vancouver on Saturday, they control beat them in regulation. I think even if they get the extra point, they would still they control their own destiny as long as they beat Vancouver some way on Saturday. This is not good.
No, it's getting real for Vancouver. And so Vancouver's going to play Demko on Tuesday night. Their last home game of the year, they host the Calgary Flames, which is a winnable game, although so was last night against the Coyotes. And then they wrap up with the Jets after. The Canucks should be fine, but Saturday suddenly is a massive hockey game.